From discussing about regional, national, to now discussing about the power of TV, we now move on to our next discussion. It's a keynote special address, The Power of TV, Decoding Disruptive Innovation to Foster Growth. On this note, may I please welcome Shashi Sinha, CEO India Mediabrands, to conduct this session. The podium is all yours, sir. Welcome.
I have a very small discussion or points which I'll present, and after that, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. So, I think most of my job has been done by the previous panel which I was listening into, where they all gung-ho about the power of television. Manifestation may be different, whether it's regional or national, which is a very animated discussion, or whether the size of the screen, as Mr. Narayan said, whatever it is. I think, so building on from that, I was told the power of TV, decoding disruptive innovation to foster growth. So as I'm concerned, I personally feel, it's all been said, but I will repeat. Firstly, I'm sure all of you know, globally, some of the most evolved markets in the world, US, UK, television is still there. So don't go by ADEX alone, people compare ADEX, but see consumption. You find heavy degree of consumption of TV in the 3.5 hours, 4 hours of consumption in US. TV is a significant portion which is there. So even in evolved markets, you know, where they say threat of digital or threat of other screens effects, that's the first thing which you bear in mind. Also bear in mind, and which is, I will talk about it in great detail, not detail, but I'll talk about it, that, you know, you must look at our culture. Internationally, especially the Western countries are very inner-directed, they're personalized, individual. We are outer-directed, we are in it together for families. So a lot of our consumption of media, while is getting personalized, but the fact that we are sitting together as a family and viewing, it's not only viewing television, it's also doing a lot more socially. That's never going to go away. So in my mind, you know, television is here to stay, and some of the numbers indicate. As you know, I do a part-time job with BUK, and we get some early headway numbers which are there. Actually, sorry, I should rephrase it. I do a full-time job there, and I do a part-time job with my company. The intensity of pressure I get from the news channels. So, you know, we do this baseline which comes out supposed to come out every year, but because of COVID reasons, the baseline was not done. And the baseline is now almost through. Hopefully in the next 1 month we'll release the data. But what I was seeing, early trends, you know, really enthused me. Almost 6 to 7% growth on television, if not more, you know. So television homes, TV homes. The problem in India is, and a lot of buyers sitting here, you know, they convert everything into percentages. So that's the problem. But if you look, you know, just as an aside, to digress from this, we're the only country in the world where advertising is bought on cost per rating point, not per on absolute numbers, not on CPMs. And this is the bane of this industry. But that aside, we'll come back to that later. So if you look in absolute numbers, TV is growing by 6-7%. Huge headroom for growth. You know, for a variety of reasons, it's the form of entertainment, it's the form of communication. People say mobile will take over. Definitely mobile has a role to play. And I'll touch on that, why I believe the television will grow along with mobile. So that's one. I alluded to it in the beginning in terms of our culture, outer-directed society, our fact that we are then families sitting together, whether joint families or otherwise. So that's the first point I'd like to make. Then there was this interesting discussion which was happening earlier on when I walked in on free versus pay versus, you know, within pay there is DTH and there is cable. So naturally, again, the results which show free is growing for a variety of reasons. As the gentleman mentioned, that India is a very price-sensitive market, so whatever you give free will obviously be lapped up. And if all the channels are there on free dish, why not? Growth will come. They'll be disproportionate. But it's not to say that DTH growth, well, in numbers indicate that DTH is probably slowing down as per the TRI growth numbers. The numbers we are seeing, that may not be true. Now, obviously, TRI has declared numbers. What numbers we see are fieldwork numbers, a sample of 3 to 3.5 lakhs. But nevertheless, intuitively, I feel DTH has a role to play. for two reasons. One is that, data prices in India are very, very cheap at this point in time. How long will it remain? I don't know. At some point in time, data prices have to change. When this whole consumption of content on the mobile phone and other devices may come under pressure. And for the reasons which I keep going back to, we're an auto-directed society. I think people will still keep the big screen at home. They will not dismantle it. That's my personal belief system. I also believe, there's this whole term which people use, which thankfully I didn't hear today, but I hear in all good corporate boardrooms, people talk of cord cutting. The number we see of cord cutters is actually very low, And I'm waiting and dying to put the number out, hopefully in 1 month's time. The number we're seeing of cord cutters are very low. Yes, connected TV will be very big. So, and in my mind, as someone said, connected TV is TV. To me, it doesn't matter whether it's, it's television. It's a big screen, it's family sitting together. So I personally believe, this fact that today, and a lot of digital companies, and no offense meant to the giants in digital, they say cord cutting is happening and people are moving away. I was at a panel 2 days back, where FMC's panel, where one of the very senior people threw a number for 2040 or 2050 or whatever the number year it was for the huge 70% of India or 60% of urban India will be cord cutters. I say, wow, that number looks amazing to me. Firstly, who will be around in 2040 to check what is thrown away? But the perception being created is that, people are moving. It's absolutely wrong. I think it's premature. I may sound old-fashioned, but so be it. I mean, I stand for TV. I genuinely believe in the power of television. And I'm saying for reasons, the pricing reasons. Television is extremely cheap. Nowhere in the world, if you apply purchasing power parity, you will find television so cheap as anywhere in the world. So you said it's cheap, but you didn't clarify, you didn't say to the audience, it's the cheapest in the world. And would you agree with me or not? Indian television, as consumers, have not have it better. It's the cheapest in the world. He's got used to it. There's no way changing that. Be it the distribution, be it the content, it's absolutely cheap. You can't take that away. That habit cannot go away. So for these 3-4 reasons, I think television is very critical. The downside of this is the fact they're so cheap that unlike the rest of the world, the money comes in 80% from advertising, and that's in a good thing for my day job or my night job, bad thing for the ecosystem. The ecosystem demands that there should be a balance so that there could be a play, because too much power in one hand, too much power in the hands of Group M, IPG, Dentsu, Omnicom and thing is not good. 5 networks buying 80%, 25% of television, not a good thing. I say it, those who know me, I say things publicly, so I'm saying it here. I say speak from the heart. So I think that's the downside. But within that, there are saving graces, So while it will continue being dominated by advertising for a long time, advertising revenues for a long time, I fully agree with the previous panel. It's very difficult to get subscription back. And even if you see the OTT guys who talk subscription, finally, either they're bleeding, or they're making it because they're making it very cheap, or they're part of broadcast networks. Finally, the money is coming in from the broadcast guys. So television is finally what is earning money. If you're giants like Amazon, that's a separate story, but the single OTT players will finally have to take a call. How long can they fund this monster with their feeding? It will come from television companies. It will be conglomerates which are doing television and earning on the back of television, investing in various formats. But finally, it's television. Is that what it is? So that's the next point which I'll make. Coming back to advertising, I genuinely believe, that television has various scopes for improvement, and I think the fact that it is one mass, even today, and I was listening to the gentleman from Motorola, when he was saying that, for us it's a consumer which matters, doesn't matter which end it is. I think there's huge possibility to segment and create cohorts, and that's where the value will be better. So the value for a free consumer will be a particular kind. Today, the whole thing with television has become the lowest common denominator. So everything is numbers, everything is, in some cases, CPMs or most cases, CPRPs. It's one number. It's one NCCS, ABC, whatever you run, So it's, as they say, Ramban being run. You're not slicing and dicing. And that could be many reasons for slicing and dicing. That's the mindset of our industry, that's the mindset of advertisers, the mindset of agencies, and so on. I think there is television being so powerful, there is scope to segment. And if you segment, if you create cohorts, for example, auto companies today, their consumers, the 10 lakh plus cars, you've seen the growth in auto companies, they don't know where to advertise. So they, by default, go to people where there's no third-party measurement. They don't know. They say, okay, they use their intuition to say, let's go to DTH. There's no data which is available for DTH separately. Because it all get modified or it gets all muddied in that one number. Then to add to that, our definitions are all wrong. NCCS ABC, NCCS A is a very, very wide definition. You could have anyone in NCCS A. And as a result, it has a cascading effect. So when you say NCCS A is so wide, then you'll find, with no offense meant anywhere, you'll find meters in homes or people who probably not going to be a car buyer ever, but classifies as NCCS A. So I think many tweaks are required. Since I represent the measurement body also, if some tweaks we do from our side, simple stuff. It could be like saying, should we start putting out data, DTH, cables, and free separately? Just not, it's not. It's a deductive logic which is used for free, but we start waiting, it's a big controversial step, but I think it'll help advertisers. It'll help content creators start looking at niches. I think the point being made on regional was that finally it's all about niches which are appropriate, which are sizable to pay for, which have value, but which are, niche is the wrong word to use, but which have sizable audience which is cohorted in that sense. So that's one thought. The other thought is, like I said, should we change the NCC's definition to make it easy to segment? I think there is great opportunity, especially for people who have multiple formats for TV content, the TV players plus the OTT players in other ways they're getting into it. I think there's a huge opportunity to, if all these things are done as an industry, it has to be industry-wise effort, where we turn around and start slicing and dicing. For example, everyone spoke of national. In my mind, there's no such thing as national. It is HSM. And HSM is a language. So the content for Gujarat is dramatically different than the content which is consumed in Bihar or elsewhere. Because the same principle of lowest common denominator is being applied, which is what's happening. If we started doing some way, looking at segments there, and I'm sure there are lots of brands. I see in my portfolio of brands, lots of clients saying, listen, give me Gujarat. I don't know, buy the entire, HSM for that matter. Why should I pay that money? Or I want parts of UP. UP is a very big market. I don't know. Interesting tidbit, I don't know, most of you know. People say India is a young country. Actually, pockets of India is young. Maharashtra, where we sit in south, is no longer young. It's that Indo-Gangetic plain starting from Delhi going all the way to Bengal. That's where the youth is and that's where the future is. And you can't address UP today. Think about it. There's no way of addressing UP unless you buy what you call national. And therefore you pay national rates, and no one has thought about it. UP, in terms of GDP, is probably far bigger than many, many countries in Europe. And I'm not saying it because I'm from UP, but I'm saying that's a big market, and if you go to a lot of brands, that's where they want to advertise. So all I'm saying is, and the fault is not of TV networks. The fault is the ecosystem has not enabled them to cash in on this opportunity. So there is an opportunity there. So I genuinely believe that there is a great, great opportunity for television in the country. It has to be exploited. The ecosystem has to help. And I will do a plug which I do in the end because I get beaten up every Thursday from 11 o'clock onwards for no fault of mine. I know nothing what's going to happen. These 100 odd news channels which are there. I say this, and I say this for those who know me in the advertising fraternity, I say this here also, that I genuinely believe we compete by day, but we must collaborate. For me, to use a Haryanvi term, is the concept of biradari. I'm a big believer in the concept of biradari. Biradari is that we are in it together. Then within that we may compete, I'm elder brother, I'm younger brother, whatever, So if we want this industry to succeed more, we have come very far. We have in the last 30, 40 years, we've been there. But if we want this industry to succeed, we have to compete. We cannot have 100 number ones in one slot. Thursday, 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, I'm number one. You compete, but you compete in a particular area. What happens is, finally, we don't want to alienate our consumer. Once you stop the number one discussion, then you will start looking at things from a point of view of what is good news, what is good content, then you'll not have sensationalism. You may have sensationalism, probably the battle is lost, but there are 50 ways. So if we keep an eye on saying, listen, while I need to do a day job to survive, I need a P&L which I'm running, but I'm also part of a larger television ecosystem. And what do I do to keep it going? You know, there are many, many industry bodies which I know which work beautifully. So I think we ourselves need to respect that we are in this industry. This industry is a bright future. Industry is not going to be run down. Hand on heart, a lot of people in the fraternity not sure what the future is. And I'm saying it, like I say, I'm reputed for saying things, the good or bad, the way they are. So I think we have to start believing in this. I'm a big believer in this, that there's a bright future. We have to work together. Needless to mention, we have our jobs. Needless to mention, I have a company to run. I have to deliver numbers to my global masters. But I also care for the industry. Thank you.
May I please call upon stage Siddharth Lax, founder and editor-in-chief, for the token of appreciation.